It was kind of I guess sort of a random event. I went to the International Expo in the fall, and I got lots of flyers, lots of places sounded really interesting to me. And looking through one view book, they had a huge picture of paella, just a huge plate of the Spanish dish, and a picture of the beach next to it. And I was like, well, that's perfect. I like food and I like the beach. And I thought about it, and I needed a reason to go, so I decided to get a Spanish minor. And that's how I ended up in Alicante, Spain.
For the fact that I'm Asian, so I thought, I didn't have to prepare so much just because I was actually born and raised in Hong Kong. So, I thought, everything is going to be similar. But then actually no, and Japan was a very unique, they have a really unique culture, which is very different from other Asians too.
In terms of my preparation that I used before I studied abroad, I read books on the country. I studied the language as much as I could because I actually didn't take a class in Spanish for about a year before I went abroad.
A lot of research that I did prior to studying abroad. Went on to the U.S. Department of State website, checked the travel warnings, and a lot of this was to ease my mother's worries.
And you go north and you go into the tropical regions where you have to get yellow fever vaccines and you have to have dengue and typhoid and all these different vaccines if you're going to be traveling outside of Argentina.
I had a scholarship from NUFS, which was 80,000 yen per month.
I already pay out-of-state tuition to go to UC, so for me it was actually cheaper to study abroad.
I was staying on campus in a dorm. The only difference from UC is you don't have the option of staying in a co-ed dorm. The dorms are split. One side is women, one side is male, and women cannot go into the men's side and men cannot go into the women's side.
The housing experience I had was great. The family was very welcoming. They didn't try to speak English with me at all.
There were about 65 students in the dorm from various countries like France, England, Australia.
In the beginning, I stayed with an older woman, and the accommodations were found by the organization that I was going to be working for. They had people in the area, and they found a listing and set it up for me. Very nice woman, but I also, after a certain period of time, wanted some independence, have people over. I made friends, and it was more, I felt maybe it would be better for me to have my own apartment.
Housing was like student apartments. It wasn't the nicest place I've ever stayed, but it wasn't the worst either.
I lived with a single lady in her apartment, and I don't think I could have had a better experience. Amazing meals every day. I had my 3-course lunch when I came home from class laid out for me, another delicious dinner. She would pack a sandwich for me whenever I went to class in case I was hungry during class. The first day she tried to pack me 3 sandwiches, and I told her that really one was okay.
They said they were going to an event in the city, and then I was like, can I join? And then they said, maybe not tonight.
As an African American traveling abroad, you're always concerned with whether or not somebody's going to have some type of racial hatred towards you, or whether they're going to make a comment that's going to make you feel uneasy. And I will tell you that that definitely did happen.
There were a few times in Yemen where men act a certain way towards Yemeni women, but those rules seem to go out the window sometimes when dealing with women who are not local. And so I had a few instances where men would make comments to me or that they would never make to a Yemeni woman.
The Argentine culture is very much more European white-based mentality than I would have expected, and so even to them I was considered to be dark, and I would hear, oh, morochita or something like that as I walked, just because they're used to the blonde or the fair-skinned European look.
I did actually expect something like that to happen. I put in my mind that I was going to be committing to really looking at taking a broad view of the society and what the majority of the members in the society, what type of views the majority of members in the society had. And I do not feel that more than even 1% of people in Mexico have a strong racial hatred towards African Americans.
You know, there'd be people who would try to make contact with me when I was walking home at night, but if you don't say anything, they really aren't sure what your nationality is, and you're just some female walking home.
Almost like you could just be instantly, like, become famous there, so to speak, because everybody's like, oh, it's an American. I want to practice my English with them and stuff.
We had one teacher that when our presentation was finished, she's like, everyone in for hugs and kisses. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And, you know, teachers bring in certain, you know, drinks that are a specialty there after we finished our first test, and we all toast. And it's just a more of a community feeling that I don't always experience at the University of Cincinnati.
Everybody says hi to you and wants to be your friend, and I don't know, especially, you know, with the girls over there. There was a lot of girls at the school, so I had a lot of female friends. Not my fault.
I did, actually. I really enjoyed the month of Ramadan. At times it was difficult. It was difficult to study when you haven't had any food or drink throughout the day. But because everybody else was doing it, everybody else was in the same boat, it made things a bit easier.
Sometimes we don't even have to approach them. They will actually approach us and, you know, and ask us, like, would you like to be friends? You know, you're so cool, you're from America.
People are always asking you to go to different places over the weekend, to different cities outside of Guadalajara, in order to experience the culture even more.
They have parades, lots of people dress up in different costumes to represent different like stories from maybe Indian tribes in the past.
They had tons of celebrations, but the one I went to just reminded me of, like, being at a fireworks celebration here, and like a lot of the city was there.
I take chemistry quizzes here, and they go horribly sometimes. And can I get a little hug from you? You know, can I get a little hug after that? And they don't give hugs here. We don't have that.
Something that just happened every single day, just having the opportunity to speak and express myself in another language, in a different environment, with a great group of people.
Studying abroad gives you the opportunity to earn credits that you would have earned at the University of Cincinnati towards your major.
So when can you have time, I guess, in your adult life to go spend that much time somewhere else?
It's once in your lifetime. It's not traveling. It's not traveling. It's like you're living there for a while, and you experience so much more. You get so much more out of it.
Everything when I was in Mexico was just constantly changing, constantly challenging me to do something new, exciting, and even think about my own viewpoints of how I look at the world.
Study abroad is not something that's difficult, and it can be very, like, all you have to do is come up with an idea, and there's something you can do or somewhere you can go.
Study abroad definitely changed me.
Everything I've said, I would recommend. The experience is so worth it.
The experience was great. Best time of my life.
I'm not going to lie, it was like one of the best experiences in my life.
I would definitely recommend studying abroad to someone else. It was just an incredible experience for me.